Hello, welcome back. It is Rapid Regeneration. I'm David Escamilla. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not making any claims about diseases or any medical claims. I'm here to assist you, to help you. I'm somebody who is qualified to understand what it's like to be overcome with health issues and terrible symptoms that made me feel horrible and made my life just depressing. And what I did was I figured out how to solve those problems and completely reverse all the symptoms I was having after suffering for years. And what I found worked was natural methods. And I learned everything I could to solve my problems as quickly as I could. It still took me a few years to do it, but I'm so grateful for that. I thank God for that every day. And now I'm on a mission to pay that forwards and to help you. So I've made a lot of sacrifices actually to help you, and I'm committed to helping you. I'm here to help you in any way that I can. And the thing is that I know that I can because of my experience, because of my obsession with this topic and my discernment. So I'm bringing you different segments. Each one is important. This one is super important, and it's regarding vitamin D3, cholecalciferol. Now, this is something you already know about, I'm sure. It's one of the most important vitamins in existence. It may be the most important vitamin of all time. Think about it. It's the only vitamin that your body makes on its own. It doesn't require any food to make it. It requires two ingredients, which is sunlight and cholesterol, which is basically taking fat from a subcutaneous layer below the skin, interacting with the sunlight, and it creates vitamin D3. This is one of the great issues of our time, I believe, and I can't stress this enough. I can't oversell the importance of making sure your vitamin D3 levels are in a healthy range. There are so many people that suffer with this, myself included. I was late to the game figuring this out. I so wish that I had this knowledge early on. But it is so important. When you look around the globe, in fact, you can see that life expectancies have a direct correlation with how close people are to the equator. The further they are from the equator, the lower the life expectancy is, all the way down to the Eskimos, who have one of the lowest life expectancies. Now there could be other related things to that, diet. Maybe those closer to the equator, they're eating more tropical diet, more fruits, and etc. But nevertheless, there is a dramatic correlation between high levels of vitamin D3 and longer life expectancy and fewer health issues. Now this is common horse sense. People have known for so long. I mean, think about it. Sun worship was one of the oldest religions known to humanity. And even back in the times of Jesus and everything, people used to put people out into the sun that were sick to heal. They did this even in the early 20th century, where they would have so-called outdoor hospitals, and you have actually hospital beds that were out in the sunshine. And now, look at where we are now. We have hospitals where you're in this concrete room, basically. And we're actually now living in a world where we're told to fear the sun, basically. And there's so much phobia that's pushed around the sun. And that only makes sense because you look around in this world, and so much of what goes on is just bizarro. I mean, if somebody skips a meal or fasts for a day, that's thought of as being dangerous. Or, we're told stay in your home, and you should be terrified of germs. There's no faith in our own immune system. There's no faith in our own ability to interact with the sun, which is our natural life source of this universe. Well, not this universe, but this solar system. It literally gives life to everything, and we're taught to be scared of it, and it's bad, it's evil, and avoid it, and as if either God made a mistake in how we were designed. Oops, I just made humans, and they're really not supposed to be in the sun, but I put them in the sun. Like, he was having kind of an off day. He didn't have his coffee that morning. That doesn't make any sense. It just makes common horse sense. And animals are meant to exist in a harmony with the sun, as are humans, in my view. Okay, now I know that people who say the sun is dangerous would say, well, it's a matter of degrees, and you can still get a few minutes of sun per day and still be all right. And of course, there is a balance. So now, in all my research and all my experience, yes, of course, there's a risk of being over-radiated by the sun, where you could get damaged cells or mutated cells. Now, in all my views, on all my research, it seems that the worst risk is if somebody experiences excessive sun to the point where they actually sustain a burn. If someone is getting sun to the point where their skin is not burning, then the risk is at a relatively safe level, in my personal opinion. After all, the burning of the skin would be a pretty good indicator that, you know what, maybe you should stop doing this, or you're doing this too much. So that makes natural sense. And so, governments and media and the scientific community, they do obsess over the risks of getting too much sun. But you have to understand, what are the risks of not getting enough sun? So, indeed, vitamin D3 is so important. And if somebody does not have enough vitamin D3 circulating in their body, it's associated with so many things, including loss of bone density, muscle weakness, back pain, and pain in connective tissue, dental problems, teeth problems, low immune function, increased risk of respiratory infection, poor sleep, fatigue, low energy, feelings of sadness, listlessness, and despair, poor mood, hair loss, neurological problems, as there are vitamin D3 receptors found throughout the brain. So those are some of the risks of not having enough vitamin D3. One of the more common ones being aches and pains in the joints and connective tissues. In fact, it's well known that this is oftentimes a major misdiagnosis that goes on. As you probably know, in the mainstream community, medical errors and misdiagnoses is one of the most common forms, not only of death, but of gazillions of dollars, of shortening life expectancies, of damage, cellular damage, if someone starts doing a treatment and they didn't really need it. And so somebody goes in for aches and pains and they get diagnosed with some other goofy condition, and they didn't even have their vitamin D3 levels tested at all. and they're thinking, well, I get sun 15 minutes a day, and I should be getting enough. And so this is a great shame that this is going on, and people need to understand that this is happening, because this is, again, one of the great issues of our time. This is one of the most important segments that I'm recording as part of the overall program. And so not only is somebody there's two issues also. When somebody buys into this sun phobia and everything. Now, if you're Irish, if you have red hair, if you burn really easily, I understand, you don't want to burn. So, and we'll talk about that more later, about if you really can't get sun, maybe you end up supplementing and wearing a big hat. But, that's probably a small percentage of people that really burn super easy. But for the rest of people who, and for everybody really who's constantly putting on sunscreen, and that creates two problems. Number one, you're not making vitamin D3 from the UVB rays of the sun. And number two, now you've slathered your skin in very toxic chemicals. Most of these sunscreens are just horrifically toxic. And so now you're potentially causing damage to skin cells with the toxicity of the sunscreen. So, in any case, the other thing to keep in mind is that your skin type. So, if you do have fairer skin, then your body makes vitamin D3 quicker. If you have darker skin, the darker your skin, generally speaking, you need more sunlight in order to make the same amount of vitamin D3. So the darker skin is a catch-22. It has upsides and downsides. The downside being that it takes longer to make the same amount of vitamin D3. The upside being is that the melanin in the skin acts as a natural sunscreen. So you can be out in the sun for longer. But that also blocks the sun from creating vitamin D3. So, if you have any heritage which is not Caucasian, like I do myself, I'm part Latino, then pay special attention to this, because certain ethnic groups are at a greater risk of numerous health issues because they're at a greater risk of having low vitamin D3. So, anyway, so next up we're talking about testing, but just I know this makes sense to you about, the feeling when you go outside and you're in the sunshine, and it feels good, and it's a natural happiness process. And I remember when my niece was born, and she was about 6 months old, and she would get fussy sometimes, and real fussy and everything. And we couldn't do anything to cheer her up, except if we took her right outside, just went right through the door, out into the sunshine. She just immediately calmed down and became contented and at peace. So not only is this good from a point of view of being balanced and D3 levels in the body, as you know, it's a great therapeutic practice. And just going outside in the sunshine and lying out there, sitting out there for 15 or 30 minutes, depending on your skin type and your tolerance, without burning and everything, it can be a great way to promote self-healing, inner happiness. So, and again, you don't want to get a burn. Obviously, when your skin peels, that's the worst kind of burn. Or just getting burned at all. You want to avoid that. And you know what? You can build up your tolerance as well. You can start shorter and shorter sessions and go longer, and your skin will become more tolerant. Now, if you do absolutely have to use sunscreen, there's a couple options that are natural. More natural, let's say. So one of them is you can use raspberry seed oil. Now, it has a very low amount of SPF, so it can only tide you over for a little while. But generally, everyone's different of how long you can go. But if I'm going to be in the sun for, let's say, maybe 2 hours, I use this and I don't burn at all. I just put it on my face. But you can find that at rapidregeneration.com/raspberry seed oil. And again, this is nature's own protectant against the sun. Now, if you're going to be going out for hours and hours, use a hat, use appropriate clothing to avoid just burning your skin. I want to be clear. First of all, I'm not a doctor or medical professional, and you know that. But I'm very aware that you should not burn your skin with the sun. I know that the radiation from the sun, if you burn yourself, you're creating risks of damage to the skin, mutated cells, health problems. So I know you know that. So if you're going to be outside for hours and hours and you can't really cover your skin, etc. I have found a sunscreen that's more of a natural mineral sunscreen, and it has zinc oxide in it, which is not really a healthy. It's a synthetic material, but it doesn't have all the other toxins and fillers and poisons that are in the other sunscreens. So, I'll use it once in a blue moon if I'm going out on somebody's boat, or if I'm absolutely just going to be out all day and at the beach, or I would rather have that than get burned by the sun. It's the lesser of two evils in my view. So here I'm in agreement with the mainstream scientific community saying, yes, I don't want to burn my skin. I don't find that I need that unless I'm out for hours and hours. And again, I'll try to use the raspberry seed oil, and of course use a hat. That's the best thing. So you can find that at rapidregeneration.com/sunscreen. And if by the way, some of the benefits of having adequate levels of vitamin D3, and then I'm going to talk about testing and supplementation. But what's the point of having enough vitamin D3 aside from avoiding all those health issues? How about these are some of the things that may be associated with it: helping the body retain phosphorus in the bones, helping the body retain calcium through the bones and connective tissue and nervous system, helps prevent fractures, broken bones, helps preserve muscle fibers, promote muscle strength, promotes good dental health, supports the immune system. It's linked to healthy weight management. How about healthy hair growth? Helps reduce inflammation, reduce growth of abnormal or mutated cells, assists in regulating mood and feelings of happiness, support for brain and nervous system function, can help with nerve growth and repair, improved depths of sleep, and improved energy. And think about where we've come. Depending on your view of anthropology and the origin of humans, if we really did originate from Africa in a tropical setting, in a very sunshiny setting. So what if you're listening to this and you're in the Midwest of the United States? What if you're in Europe? What if you're in even the southern states, like where I am in Texas? It's still decently north of the equator, and all during the winter time, the sun is very far away. Even if you're going out in the sun, we're not getting natural sun. And so we have to figure out if indeed humans have spread out all over the planet, and now we're living in settings that are maybe unnatural to our own design. After all, you wouldn't see a warm weather animal, a tropical animal, living in the snow and in a cold place. You just wouldn't see it. So in a sense, we need a modern solution to a modern problem. Because again, for several months of the year, the sun is going to be a lot further away than it is during the summertime and the middle of the year. And so how do you make sure you have adequate vitamin D3 levels all year long? Now there's something you can do. You can get a lamp. I got this lamp personally, and I like it. It's kind of relatively at a high cost. That's the downside. It does cost several $100s, but it is a vitamin D3 lamp. It emits the same type of light frequencies that the sun does. Not all of them, obviously, but so that the body will manufacture its own D3. And in about 5 minutes, you can manufacture the same amount of D3 as you could with spending a long time in the sun. This is a good solution for people that maybe have a point of view about supplementation. They don't want to take an oral supplement. They find that that's unnatural. And if that's the case, or if you just would rather get a natural source of D3, then check that out at rapidregeneration.com/vitamin D lamp. Now there's also oral supplementation of vitamin D3. This you could say is less natural. There's not that many outside sources of consuming D3. You have fish, eggs, some mushrooms. There's not really that many food sources, but taking it orally is not going to provide all the other helpful reactions that we get when we take in the light rays with our bodies, which can also help with cellular function, hormone balance, oxygen management. You're not going to get all the benefits of oral supplementation with D3, but it is hugely helpful still. And I do it personally. I orally supplement with D3. I want to make sure I cover my bases. And so, anyways, if you want a good source, a good plant-based source of vitamin D3, non-toxic, fillers, etc., you can find that at Rapid Regeneration /vitamin D3. Now, some people think you should supplement with K2, vitamin K2, in addition. It is true that vitamin K2 works in conjunction with vitamin D3 to basically push calcium into the bones. So this is a controversial topic. There's different opinions out there. The thing is that your body makes its own K2 from vitamin K1. So, my personal approach is to consume vitamin K1 and allow the probiotics in the body to manufacture vitamin K2. I'm concerned a little bit about taking vitamin K2, which it basically is supposed to be produced by the body. And I don't generally like to take things that the body produces. I would like to take something that's available in an external source and consume that and let the body produce what it's supposed to. So I take vitamin K1 in the form of a green powder. It has a lot of K1 in it, and make sure that my microbiome probiotics are healthy. So you could consider taking probiotic. But you can find that green powder at rapidregeneration.com/green powder. And if you really want to do a probiotic, you could do /probiotic. So in terms of dosage, a lot of people find success around 5,000 IUs per day if you're going to take vitamin D3. Some individuals require less, some take more. Do keep in mind that as a fat-soluble vitamin especially, you can get too much vitamin D3, and it is possible to get toxic levels. Although this is quite rare that somebody would, but it is possible. So you want to be careful how much you're taking. And that leads to the most important point, last point about vitamin D3, which is that you should really inform your decision making about taking vitamin D3 by testing yourself. Now, there's another segment all about testing, but vitamin D3 is one of the most no-brainer tests that you should do because, again, it's one of the most critical levels of anything in your body that's going to be raising alarm bells. Personally, this was after a long while of getting into natural health. I got tested. I was clinically deficient in vitamin D3. And this was at a time when I thought I was getting a good amount. I was going outside, riding my bike, and getting sunshine. And now, granted, I got tested in the wintertime, but I was in a dangerously low level of vitamin D3. And if you don't know what your level is, I mean, it costs about $100 to get 2 tests. One for take your test now, and then another one as a follow-up after you raise your levels. And you could do it at home. The only thing is it requires you to prick your skin and take a drop of blood. Now you can also go in and have your blood drawn. But basically, it's a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. You can find that test, by the way, at rapidregeneration.com/D3 test. Now, in terms of ranges, the best, most ideal range is somewhere between 50 to 90 nanograms per milliliter of vitamin D3. Now, there's a lot of debate about this. This is also a level of controversy because the mainstream conventional wisdom states that, well, it's more like 30 to 90. And so in other words, the healthy range starts at 30 to 50. But in all my research, and in my view, you want to be between 50 and 90. Personally, that's where I would want to be. I can't make medical recommendations for you, but for me personally, I would not want to be between 30 and 50. I want to be north of 50 and between 50 to 90 nanograms per milliliter. Otherwise, you have a false sense of security. You're being told by conventional wisdom, oh, you're within the normal range, when in reality, that is a suboptimal level of vitamin D3 in the body. Man, so, I mean, this is a super, super important one. Getting sun, it's the most natural way to get it. Second most natural is probably the lamp. Third most natural is supplementing. But if you're low, if you're below the range you need to be, run like the wind, because it makes me feel differently as well. It just makes me feel good to have the levels higher. And you could really be holding yourself back. If you're doing all the right things for your health, you're eating good foods, you're supplementing, you're exercising, but your vitamin D3 levels are not right, I mean, you're putting yourself at risk for lower life expectancy, health issues, and just lower performance. And I know that you know this. It makes natural sense, and it feels good to get sunshine. Be careful, don't burn yourself. Work your tolerance up. And the other last tip that I'll include is that I love to combine this with other modalities. For example, earthing and grounding. Do that while you're getting some sun. And my personal favorite, I know, as you know, I mean, I like transcendental meditation, which takes about 20 minutes. You just meditate and say your mantra and just let go of your mind, basically. So I would love to combine that with sitting outside in the sun and maybe with bare feet on the grass, grounding. And then also you could do some breath work in the sun. You can do your stretching, you can exercise. So It is your best friend. Use it and supplement if you need to, or use the lamp. But I cannot oversell enough the importance of having optimal levels of vitamin D3. Get tested today and figure out where you're at. And this is really your friend in achieving your health goals, whether you're trying to solve a health problem or you're just trying to be healthy so you can live the best life you can. I'm here to help provide information, help you achieve your goal. That is the point of what I'm doing, the mission of rapidregeneration.com, which I'm building as a resource for you or anyone that you know that maybe they have aches and pains, and you know somebody and they're just achy all the time, or they have poor mood, or they're sad, or they just don't feel good. Send them this information about vitamin D3 and see if they test themselves. If they have super low levels, I wonder if that could be part of the problem. So I hope you found this helpful. Keep learning this information. Each segment is important in its own way. This one is super important. So that's all for now. Good luck. Have a great day, and I'll catch you later.
For more information, please follow @Rapid Regeneration or visit rapidregeneration.com.